My name is Mike. Though I'm in the prime of my work life at 35, I'm currently on a 1-month leave of absence for personal reasons. I don't have a family right now. My mother had always been frail and passed away 10 years ago. My dad passed away last year after a long battle with illness, reaching the age of 75. I've heard that my parents got married young, and after having difficulties conceiving for a while, they were blessed with me. My mother was very kind and family-oriented. Though she couldn't overexert herself because of her health, she was great at cooking. She used to pack me loads of sandwiches and sides when I was busy with extracurricular activities. I remember when she came to cheer me on at my first competition with a big banner, my face turned beet red from embarrassment. My mom, always being my biggest supporter in everything, was the best mom for me. However, when I was in my 20s, she started having health problems and was in and out of the hospital. There were times when she showed incredible resilience and was able to live at home, but in the years leading up to her passing, she couldn't move as she used to and couldn't keep up with the household chores. From that time, I took over the household duties, including taking care of her. During those times, my dad was always working and, it seemed to me, didn't pay much attention to home. Still, since he was paying for my college tuition, I couldn't muster the courage to ask him to help more with home or with mom. The thought of something happening to my mom while my dad or I weren't home made me anxious, so on days when I didn't have college classes, I stayed home. I did the housework, prepared meals for mom, and worked from home. I didn't have much time to hang out with friends, but I knew that the time I could spend with my mom was limited. Looking back, I think I made the right decision to be by her side as much as possible. After my mom passed away, it was just my dad and me. The shock of losing my mom took a toll on his health. From there, one health issue led to another, and before I knew it, he needed care as well. He was physically able, but since he was all about his work, he couldn't do much else. Honestly, it felt even more challenging than when my mom was sick. Every day, it was a back and forth between work and home. Busy with housework and taking care of my dad. Between driving dad to the hospital, running errands, and always being there for him, I hardly had any time for myself. I'm an only child, and my relatives live in another state, so no one is nearby. Having no one to lean on was tough. However, that way of life ended a year ago, and with Dad's first memorial service behind me, things have finally settled down. That's when I decided to take a month off. My boss saw my worn-out face and told me to rest. Probably because he knew about my caregiving life, both he and my co-workers were supportive and understanding. I'm deeply grateful to be working in such a supportive environment. One day during my vacation, I got a call from a classmate, Jake. "How about hanging out this Sunday? My girlfriend's working, so I'm free." Seriously, am I just your fallback plan because you've got nothing better to do? I'm free too though. Joking aside, I agreed to meet up with Jake. Jake is one of the few close friends I have. Even when my caregiving responsibilities kept me away from social activities, he never left me out and always checked up on me. Such a great guy. Jake still lives at his parents' place, but he's planning to marry his girlfriend soon. "We might as well hang out now while we still can," he said, so we decided to play some video games at his place. When I arrived at Jake's place on Sunday, I heard a lot of chatter. "Sorry, I didn't know my sister was coming over." Jake apologized. Apparently, Jake's sister, who lives nearby, was having a barbecue in the backyard with her mom friends. "Oh, hey there, Mike. Sorry for the noise. Want some food? You can take it to the room." Jake's sister is always so upbeat. She's also really caring. I found out that the gathering was for moms who usually don't get a break because they're either single moms or their partners are always working. Jake's sister thought it would be nice to give them a break and make it fun for their kids too. Right when she saw my face, she asked, "Want to join us?" I politely declined, but she insisted, "Go ahead and eat. Just wait a bit for it to be ready." So, taking her up on the offer, I sat on the porch and waited. The adults chatted and laughed about the little things, and the kids were happily playing with the toys they brought. As I watched with a warm feeling, a little girl came up to me, opened her mouth in awe, and stared at me with a surprised look. Unsure of what to do, I just said, "Hello," but she continued to gaze at me without a word. What should I do here? Being unfamiliar with children, I felt a bit awkward. I managed to smile, and she giggled and moved away from me. She then looked around and wondered aloud, "Where's Mom?" Seemingly unable to spot her mother, she approached Jake's sister and asked. "She went to the store, sweetie. She'll be back soon, okay?" Just as she said this, the little girl's mother seemed to return. The girl ran to her and said, "Mom, hey, Mom, look, Mom." She was tugging on her clothes, trying to get her attention. "Yes, honey, what's happened?" She looked at the flustered girl, smiled, and listened to her. "Mommy, Daddy's here. I saw Daddy." "Huh? What, Daddy?" The little girl's words left her mother puzzled. The other moms looked on, intrigued by the excited little girl's exclamation. She was loudly insisting, pointing to me and saying to her clueless mother, "Look, over there, it's Dad." A little angrily, she pointed in the direction where the dad would be. Huh? The person she was pointing at was me. What? I was taken aback and raised my voice in surprise. But the one who looked even more surprised was the girl's mother. "Oh my!" she exclaimed louder than anyone else, staring at me in shock. Both Jake and I, and the other moms, were looking back and forth between me and the girl's mom, wondering, what's going on? After a brief pause, the little girl's mother regained her composure. "He might look like him, but he's not your dad," she gently explained to her daughter. "But their faces are the same. It's the face I always see. It's Dad, right?" Still, the girl kept insisting. "Remember, honey, Daddy is up in the stars now." Holding both of the girl's hands gently, the mother tried to remind her, yet the girl responded, "Their faces are the same. Dad came down from the stars. He came down from the Milky Way, twinkling," she energetically explained to her mom, seemingly referencing the Milky Way associated with the upcoming July 4th festival. The girl then ran towards me, beaming, and asked, "You're Daddy, right?" Saying so, she joyfully swung my hands back and forth. Feeling a bit out of my depth, the girl's mother rushed over and apologized to me. "I'm so sorry." I couldn't really grasp the situation, but I just smiled at the cute girl. "Emily, honey, why don't you go play over there?" The mom gently directed her daughter's attention elsewhere, urging her to move away from me for a moment. Emily returned to the other children. "Excuse me, what did you mean by stars?" Feeling it might be impolite but curious about her calling me Dad, I asked the mother directly. "Well, the thing is," she began hesitantly, explaining the meaning of the stars. It turned out that Emily's father had been in a car accident when Emily was 2 years old and had passed away. Wanting Emily to remember her father, they kept a photo of him where Emily could see it, so she knew his face. "You know, you really looks just like my husband," she said apologetically, and hesitantly showed her phone. Driven by curiosity, I looked at the screen and couldn't help but exclaim, "Whoa, the man in the photo was so similar to me, I had to do a double take." Noticing my reaction, others around us became curious, urging her to let them see the photo. "Wow, they're identical." Everyone was in unison, expressing their surprise. Little Emily ran towards her mom with a bright smile, looked at me again with joy in her eyes, and softly murmured, "Daddy." "Emily, he might look like Daddy, but he's not him. It's so surprising how much they look alike, right?" her mother tried to explain, but Emily didn't seem convinced. Soon, the steaks were ready. I and Jake served ourselves and decided to move away for a bit. "See you later, Daddy." Emily waved at me as she said this. We went into Jake's room and had a beer first while picking up some freshly grilled meat. "Life has its mysteries," we remarked, and began to play some video games. I didn't intend to stay long and decided to head home before it got too dark. As I was leaving, Jake's sister's friend was also about to depart. "Oh, Daddy." Upon spotting me, Emily energetically ran over and hugged my leg. Everyone was charmed by little Emily's cute behavior, but with an apologetic tone, Emily's mom said, "Sorry for this," as she gently detached Emily's hand from mine. "No worries at all, but me and your husband, we look very much alike." "I know, even though I knew it wasn't him, it nearly gave me a heart attack," she said, placing a hand over her chest. Holding her chest area and blushing, she asked me where I am from. But it turned out we had nothing in common regarding our places of birth or upbringing. My distant relatives are from another place, but not from where she mentioned. "Maybe we're long-lost brothers," I joked. We both agreed how mysterious it all was and wrapped up our conversation. Then little Emily asked, "Do Daddy go back to the stars when it gets dark?" She looked up at me with those innocent eyes. It seemed Emily still believed I was her dad. What should I say in this situation? Before I could decide, Emily's mom said, "I'm so sorry again. See you," and led Emily away. Emily smiled brightly at me. Feeling that I should say something, I managed to say, "See you again, Emily." "Bye, Daddy." Emily waved energetically as they left. I worried Emily might cry out of sadness, but it seemed she believed that Dad returned to the stars, and I felt relieved. That night, as I lay in bed, the day's events stuck in my mind. Is there some sort of connection between us, or could this be a doppelganger situation? With those thoughts, several days passed. And on the following Sunday, although I didn't have much in the way of assets, my aunt and uncle came over to help to sort through my dad's belongings. It was a long drive for them, and I felt bad, but I couldn't determine the value of things on my own, so I had asked for their help. As we sorted through the items, I suddenly remembered that day with Emily. Speaking of which, the other day, I saw someone who looked just like me. I told about how little Emily called me Daddy when she saw me. However, that man had already passed away, and there were no similarities like where we came from. It's strange how things happen, isn't it? But it's quite a story, and seemed to be trying to recall something. After a moment, Aunt said, "You know, how many years ago was it? No, maybe decades ago. I heard my cousin had a fallout with her child. Either the child was kicked out, or ran away from home. I'm not exactly sure because we weren't close. Mike, you do resemble your grandfather. Could that man possibly be your second cousin?" Upon hearing this, Uncle and I skeptically replied, "Could such a coincidence really happen?" Curious, we started searching through Dad's old photo albums to see if we could find any clues. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything that seemed like a hint. Even after that, Aunt, still curious, went through her old photos at her house, but again, no clues were found. However, in the midst of her search, she found contact details for some distant cousins she hadn't been in touch with for years. Some numbers were unreachable, but she did manage to get in touch with one of the siblings. The father, her elder cousin, was not reachable, but she secretly got in touch with his daughter and managed to get her number. It seems like there are distant relatives we don't even know about, and they're not well acquainted with each other's current circumstances. So, although it took some time, Aunt talked to the niece and gathered some information. It turned out that the details about Emily's father, his name, age, the year he passed away, and where he lived matched the story Emily's mother had told. It seems more and more likely that Emily's father and I might be second cousins. I never thought second cousins could look so much alike. Maybe it's the strong genes from our grandfather. Anyway, I really wanted to tell this to Emily's mother, so I immediately called Jake and asked him to pass the message to his sister. We then exchanged contact details and decided to meet up with her, Sarah, later on. On the day of our meeting, we met at a park where Emily usually plays, and I showed Sarah the pictures and information Aunt had sent me on my phone. Everything matched perfectly with her late husband's details. What a coincidence. I can't believe he was your second cousin. Sarah looked surprised but nodded in understanding. Then, Emily ran up to me and said, "So you're not my daddy." She seemed a bit embarrassed about the mistake and looked shy. "You know, Daddy can't come down from the stars, right, Mom?" Emily looked at Sarah and giggled. I explained everything to her later. "It was a bit tough to make you understand, wasn't it, Emily?" Sarah hugged Emily from behind and, recalling a time when they were chatting, both burst into fits of laughter. Hey, let's play together. Mom too." With that, Emily took my and Sarah's hands and eagerly led us to the playground. I wasn't sure what's the best to entertain her, so I ended up just following her lead and watching the two of them. Yet, I found solace in Emily's pure innocence. And on one Sunday, I was at the zoo with Sarah and Emily. "I'm sorry for taking up your day off," Sarah said apologetically, while Emily was hopping around excitedly. I had agreed to Emily's earnest request to come to the zoo as a trio. From our last outing to the park, it seemed Emily had taken a liking to me. Every now and then, she'd take my hand and we'd joyfully run around the zoo. When it was time for lunch, the three of us spread out our picnic mat in the open space and sat down together. Sarah had packed us a lunch. "I'm sorry, it's mostly sandwiches and kid-friendly snacks," Sarah said shyly, handing out wet wipes. Look, this has a lot of ham and cheese," Emily exclaimed joyfully, holding a sandwich, eating with delight. I didn't hesitate to have the lunch. The homemade meal brought a smile to my face, both for its taste and the sentiment behind it. Emily, with her innocent smile, said, "It's so fun with Uncle Mike. I wish you were my daddy." She chuckled and said, "I'm gonna go play," as she energetically ran around with a ball. Sarah, maybe reacting to the daddy comment, gave me a sheepish smile and said, "I'm really sorry." On the drive back from the zoo, Emily, tired from all the excitement, slept soundly in the car. When she woke up, it seemed she was inside the house and she started crying, saying, "Uncle Mike is gone. I think she had a lot of fun today. Thank you so much." Read the grateful text I received from Sarah later, which also mentioned how Emily wanted to play again soon. From then on, at Emily's request, the three of us started going out for meals and outings. Today we're playing with this. "Emily, make sure you ask Mike if it's okay to play." Emily reached for the Lego and RC cars I had in my apartment. "It's okay. Play however you like." On one day we had planned to go to the park. It rained heavily. Emily, being restless and wanting to go somewhere, was brought to my place. It was good that Emily found something of interest at my place, but I felt a bit embarrassed revealing my love for Lego and RC cars to Sarah. Sarah and I sat drinking coffee, watching Emily play, smiles on our faces. Then, Emily said with an innocent smile, "Uncle Mike's place is so much fun. I wish we had a big house too. Mommy, I want to live in a house like this." Both Sarah and I laughed at Emily's words, but we nearly spat out our coffee at her next statement. "You know, calling you Uncle Mike is too long. Just call you Dad. He's pretty much Dad now." Saying that, Emily chased after a remote control car and ran down the hallway. Left in the room, Sarah and I exchanged glances but quickly looked away and sipped our remaining coffee. We didn't voice it, but there was a certain tension in the air, a mutual understanding. A few months later, "Play airplane with me." Emily jumped onto me. I lie down on my back and start booming the plane with Emily on my feet and supporting my hands as well. "Thank you for boarding. Flight Emily is taking off." I made the sounds of an airplane taking off and gently lifted and swayed my legs to simulate flight. "Ha ha ha. It's become Emily's favorite game recently. After about 10 rounds of takeoffs and landings, with Emily always hopping back on, the old wooden floor of my house would creak and groan. "Hey, Emily, you are tiring out, Mike." Sarah, peeking out from the kitchen, laughed as she watched the playful scene between Emily and me. In truth, Sarah and I had been dating. Since it's Emily's summer break and she wanted to, we agreed she'd stay with me until school started. I'm considering marrying Sarah in the future, so this feels like a trial run for living together. My parents had passed away and I was exhausted after years of caring for them. Without much experience in love, I had always planned to live on my own, but I never thought that such a coincidence would lead me to a lively life. Sometimes, I glance at a picture of my mom. I'm not superstitious, but I wonder if my mom, who might have been worried about me being alone, somehow brought us together. My mom always wished for my happiness. It is not impossible. If I squint, it looks like my mom is smiling in her photo. Anyway, I'm happy now. Making Sarah and Emily happy is my current dream.